Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. It's been a while since we did one of these, but today I'm welcoming a good friend of mine, awesome guy, Arthur Olshansky. Arthur, thanks for joining us today, man. He's the CEO of Klik Solutions. I appreciate you joining us today, man.
Thank you, Drew. I appreciate you having us. I'm looking forward to our conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, Arthur's the CEO of Klik Solutions. As a CEO, you started this thing. What gave you the idea to start Klik Solutions?
I think it's a great question. I think always I have been entrepreneurial. I've always been interested in kind of running a business. Always was techie, into techie things, gaming, the typical stuff, gaming, coding a little bit, writing some small apps. My parents empowered me by giving me access to a computer system at a very young age, even when it's probably challenging for them financially. Um, and I never really realized that I could have a career in technology. I was a biology major in college, and then people around me started getting jobs in IT. But like I said, I was always entrepreneurial, and I always thought maybe there's a better way to do certain things, and just kind of ended up here today. It's kind of interesting path.
That's awesome. I love that because the biology major thing, especially because people in technology. I don't know what your experience has been, but I've met a lot of people in technology, especially in leadership in technology, and like 80% of them have nothing to do with technology. Their degrees, right? Like my old bosses in tech when I used to work in IT were like music majors and like English majors, and I was a criminal justice major and went to law school. Like there's people from all over different backgrounds in technology, which is fascinating. Have you had the same experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Same experience. Some of the best, sharpest IT guys I ever worked with were, not computer science majors or information systems or anything else. They were, like you said, music majors, art majors, history majors. Had quite a few history majors. Great conversation during lunchtime. You know what I mean? When you're sitting there talking about world history. Very rare have I run into somebody, especially in our industry, right? We focus on infrastructure support. A lot of the coding and developing stuff, a lot of those come from like computer science backgrounds I've seen more often, but like computer support guys, network guys, a little bit all over the place. Kind of surprising. I'm glad to hear I'm not the only one that's had that experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. It's a really common experience as far as I've seen. But yeah, man. So what was your journey like as a leader? Like making that shift from pre-Click to starting this company and then growing it to where it is right now. I mean, you guys are doing some really cool stuff, and like I said, I love what the team you've built. Gotten the chance to meet all of them. They're phenomenal people. What was your journey like building that team and starting from scratch?
Well, it's great. Neil Constantoulis and I started the company in 2012. We kind of both lost our jobs at the same time. We were like, what's next? Neil's was high school athlete, star, college soccer player. Me, I've always been around sports, kind of more focused on ice hockey. But we always kind of had this approach of like sports teams. Like you got to build a team. There's got to be different players. There's leaders. There's defensive and offensive. I mean, just typical sports stuff. And we've always kind of had that. And I think, you learn where people are strongest, where people are weakest, and you leverage that to our kind of mutual benefit. And I think that's really helped us as a company grow substantially. I mean, it's kind of, that's really been the driving force, getting the right people, having people committed to the company mission, people wanting to try a little bit harder, not only for us, for our clients. It's all relevant, right? It's the customer service experience that we always talk about. It's that high level of engineering. It's that smile even when you're on a phone. People hear it, right? People can see it. These are all key things we've always wanted. We felt like that was important, having the right people and providing the right positive experience for our clients. That's sort of where I felt we wanted to continue to build that business. And now we're 10 years into this, growing as a company. Again, another year of positive growth, both in revenue and employee size and location. Really excited at heading into 2023 as well.
Yeah, like I said, I love the stuff you guys are doing. You guys have the Klik TV, which is pretty cool. You guys have those conversations with different folks, people, internal people and external people, which is really cool because you're highlighting your partners. You're also highlighting the talent on your team, and so I love what you said about kind of building that, like it's looking like a sports team. I don't think people take that approach enough when they're building a team. They don't think of it like, the whole Moneyball thing, right? Like the whole
Yeah,
idea of like,
yeah.
you're building a team based on what the output you want to get, right? You're not building it based on just like popularity or whatever looks good, right? It's like ultimately it's the output, right?
Yeah, 100%. So like myself, being self-aware, you know what I mean? Looking at myself in the mirror, it's uh it's I know where I'm strong and I know where I'm weak. And
Yeah,
so I choose to be in that area, in that zone where I'm the strongest. And then I can bring in a complementary person on our team, right? You've met some of those folks to kind of like help out, push us forward where I may be weak, there may be strong, and it's like building a puzzle, a sports team, a puzzle. Like you mentioned, Moneyball. The end product is usually a positive, outcome, positive result for the company.
yeah, no, absolutely, dude. And that self-awareness is super key, right? And I think a lot of people don't take that extra step to be self-aware and say, okay, where am I actually strongest and where am I weakest? And I think in today's world, I feel like it's a bad thing to say that you're weak in an area or that you need improvement. It's like, no, just be aware. It's not like a
Yeah,
bad
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
you know?
I I tell this to all my kids all the time. You know what I mean? If you feel like you're weak there, like focus on where you're strong, but you can also take action against where you're weak,
Yeah,
right? If you say, "Look, I procrastinate," right? Then and that's what your weakness is. Start having internal conversations when you feel like you're starting to procrastinate. Say, Arthur, snap out of it. Don't procrastinate. Do it now. So
yeah.
those are kind of like, that part of that self-awareness, I think is very, very important for business leaders, team members, in personal relationships everywhere.
Yeah, and you can build systems that help you to really do that, right? And really
Yeah.
accommodate that kind of thing. So I'm going to ask a question about challenges, right? Because as business leaders, we've all faced challenges throughout our careers and as we build things up. What were the big challenges that you faced in building Klik from where it was when you and Neil started it to now?
Well, we kind of started from nothing. So it's always a challenge from the beginning just like with a child, you know what I mean? Same thing with a business, you start from nothing. You're a little bit confused. You may be desperate. You may be grasping at things that are outside of your strength, right? You're just trying to get business. You're trying to keep the lights on. You're trying to pay employees, all that other stuff. I think, challenges have been finding good people, right? I think that's, our people are our greatest product. It's our biggest value as a company. We all can buy the same software. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? We all, it's the people really that make the difference. So that building the right people, having the right core of people around us. I think initially we might have lacked focus, right? We saw the brand new shiny object and we wanted to sell it, right? We thought that was it. What happens is you focus all your attention. Does that really make you money? Does it really help you grow your business? You're not sure. It definitely helps the manufacturer because they just want to move their box and you're
right.
part of that whole supply chain process around it. Those were kind of initial challenges. I think those were kind of key for us. You know what I mean? Kind of like the maybe lack of focus.
Hmm.
I think also, like we had when we launched the company, we had a lot of people promise us things. Neil and I always joke about one day writing a book of all the people that we came to help, right? Like, hey guys, I'll help you. I know someone. So I think we can write a book about all those experiences, both positive and negative, would probably be a bestseller. So I think it would be
Oh yeah. Those connections of people that always tend to offer, they offer more than they can actually deliver, right?
always. I
And
mean, I always draw. I'm sorry to cut you off. I always tell
no,
people, like, if you're starting a business because somebody's promising to do something for you, you're already, heading the wrong way. So that's kind of what we always discuss ourselves here.
yeah,
But
no, 100%. And that takes me to the next question, which is that, like, what would you write a book about kind of question, right? Which is like, what would you share with new entrepreneurs or people who are just starting a business or thinking about starting it, frankly? What advice would you give them? What are like the three lessons that you've learned or more or less? It's up to you, but that
I
doesn't pick
mean,
three.
yeah, I think, be prepared to struggle. You know what I mean? Initially, it's going to be a struggle. I think, I always tell people, look, first 9 months, we didn't make anything. But we showed up every day. It was kind of funny. People were like, man, you guys were showing up in different coffee shops and little restaurants around Federal Hill. it was not easy. So be prepared to struggle, you know what I mean? And that was kind of, important thing to understand. Be very clear, you know what I mean, and where you're trying to get to, and what you're trying to offer to get there. Focus, like I had discussed earlier. Focus, I think, is very, very, very important. Trying to think what else. I think those two are really key. That and like I said, just learn to trust people, right? Be a little bit open to collaboration. Sometimes you can't win. Sometimes you got to give to finally get. So be open to that kind of collaboration, but stay focused really on your products and services. Try not to deviate. You just complicate things, stretch things out more than it needs to be.
So going back to that question, that issue you raised about focus, right? When you and Neil were starting, you said you kind of weren't really focused. How did you guys account for that? What was your solution for being not so focused in the moment? What did you guys do?
Well, we had we had our current CTO Roman Shraga join us very early on, and we always had talked about, let's create processes and documentation, mind maps, like Roman had mentions, and let's figure out literally how the whole business will run, up and down, side to side, to help us really, kind of stay focused, right? It not only helps us, it helps other people around us, helps customers understand it's the process. You know what I mean? The process was very, very important for us. That helped us with the focus, right? Once we all had committed to that, that really helped us move along as a company, for sure.
Yeah. No, and that's great. I mean, and again, it goes back to people, like you said, to bring that person on board to kind of help you guys kind of focus. And that vision that he had was like, let's do mind maps, let's figure things out and kind of get organized. That sounds like it changed everything for you guys.
Yeah, and for Neil and I, we're different personalities from Roman. You know what I mean? We're like, let's figure it out. Let's run. We'll figure it out. Let's sell it. Let's get a signature, and we'll figure out how to do it later. Right? That was kind of the mentality. That's often a critical mistake a lot of businesses make. Right? They just want to get a signed agreement. Whether they make money doing it or not, that's a whole different conversation. Roman really kind of helped initial. And then we had people around him as well that really helped put together the process around that, kind of reined our personalities in. We're still fun. We like to have fun every day at work, but now we're all kind of, operationally friendly sales team is what I say.
Yeah, I like that. And I think that's important for business owners to hear, though, like especially new entrepreneurs, and even people who've been in business for a while. It's important for them to hear that it's important to get the sale, absolutely, right? But you got to also know what you're selling, know what you're out there doing. You can't just fly by the seat of your pants, and it's not going to be easy. I hear a lot of people talking about how anyone can start a business. Just you quit your job and start a business because you don't like your job, start a business. Like that's not the solution to go. If you want to quit your one job and get like 50 jobs, then yeah, start one business and you'll get 50 jobs along with that. But I love what you said about that whole struggle and that the work you guys did, like showing up every single day. That can get that grind is tough.
It's very, very difficult. I can have people reaching out because I consider myself a sales guy. Neil's a sales guy as well. And people reach out to us all the time, like, hey man, I want to get this into sales. And I'm like, why do you want to get into sales? Oh, I see you guys, you're at the Capitals game, you're at the Orioles game, and I'm like, that's the top 5% of what you see. There's a lot of ups and downs in sales. It's a very difficult job, I think, in being able to, first of all, take care of your client properly, right? To get that message where the customer is happy, that everything's in line with what your operational team can deliver. That's always a challenge. There's always a lot of disappointment. You know what I mean? You have clients who either leave, right, or who are willing to commit to you but choose to go somewhere else. Very, very painful, depressing, and lonely process.
Yeah.
When that happens. It's not so. It's not such an exciting game. But showing up every day without, that's, to me, I think, stands out the most. It's not very easy for someone to show up without making a single dollar.
Yeah.
And grinding and showing up and sending emails and smiling about it. Those are all challenges.
Yeah, I mean it's the iceberg, right? You see, the iceberg is the Giants game, the Capitals games, whatever you see at the top, and then the grind is underneath. That's the stuff that no one sees, and they don't recognize that that's part of the game.
Yeah. A lot of people fail to see that.
Yeah. So your team is actually spread over the world. I mean, you had a team in Ukraine. How is that working for you guys right now? How are things? How is the team over there? I mean, I know they're relocated for the most part. How's that struggle been for you guys, and
Well,
how do you
it's
guys overcome it?
just amazing, very inspirational. Very proud of. Originally born in Ukraine myself. I'm super proud of that. I'm very proud of our team. Just the adversity. So we have about 20 team members based in Ukraine. 4 or 5 of them were able to exit the country to live in Europe and different places in Europe. But the rest of the team is still in Kiev, Ukraine,
Wow.
right in the heart of the country. They are. Just a couple of weeks ago, there was another series of bombings that were occurring, and there was power outages and internet outages. And we have a company Telegram chat, right, to kind of stay in touch. And these guys are scrambling to find power and internet just to be able to work. I
Jeez.
mean, we get a little bit of snow here. We're like, oh, we're done. Over there, they're like, oh, this cafe has internet and power. And then I know a guy has an office. They have a generator. Come by here, and we can work here. Just that whole thing. Meanwhile, still caring for their families, the safety, being able to provide, and still trying to work and thinking about that. It's very inspirational. Just get emotional thinking about it sometimes. What that could possibly be like. Of course, we support them. We recently in the office we implemented additional battery backup systems. We got them Starlink. So
Nice.
Elon Musk, thank you. We got satellite going there, so we have internet. I think this week they got a generator, so that office now is fully sufficient. 24/7 on its own power. It's become sort of like a hub for people to be able to gather and work and recharge phones and laptops and all that other stuff. We're very, very involved with all our team members, both in U.S. and in Ukraine, but really, really proud of what they have to go through just to be able to show up to work. And our clients appreciate that. I hear this all the time, which to me is awesome.
That's amazing, man. And like you said, that's really inspirational. That perseverance it's not something you find a lot, right? I mean, the people, like you said, we have a snowstorm, we have, delayed flight. Oh, sorry guys, can't work. Can't do it right now. But they're literally going through power outages, being bombed, trying to be safe, like basic safety, right? Like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You got the basic safeties in the bottom is the primary thing. And they're still worrying about work and production. And then that's unbelievable, man.
Very, very early on, I tell the story in comparison to that. We had a young tech that worked for us that lived not too far from where I live. Mm-hmm. And the guys will probably laugh when they see this, but there was a slight bit of snow on the ground. And I called the guy. I said, hey, man, listen, like, I'll pick you up because, we need all hands on deck. I'll pick you up and I'll drive you to the office and I'll drive you back. He's like, oh, no, it's snowing. My mom won't let me drive. I mean, this is like a grown person, my mom won't let me drive. So I said, okay, but listen, I'll pick you up. He's like, oh, okay. So I pull up to his house and his parents are cleaning out his car from snow. I was just blown away. I mean, it is what it is, right? But here are people who actually have drones, missiles, all kinds of stuff flying overhead, which I hear sometimes in our calls. I hear air raid sirens, and they're still very focused and they want to continue to work because I think it also gives them some normalcy. You know what I mean? Like things could be normal for that period of time because they're focused on taking care of our clients.
Yeah, that's first of all, that's terrifying. I mean, having to hear like raids and that kind of stuff in the background, like, I mean, but again, you have that difference, right? The distinction between life with real challenges and then life with just manufactured challenges, right? Where you're making it up in your head. That's the power of people just making up stuff for themselves. But that's amazing, man. But last question I have for you before I let you go, because I know we want to have your time. But for you, who were the most inspirational people for you? Who inspired you as a leader, and who would you want to emulate when you became a leader?
Well, I mean, I think it's a great question. It's a tough question, right? Because it's like it makes you think. But I think early on in this conversation, I had referenced my parents, right? My parents were immigrants. We came here a very long time ago in 1979. Really didn't know anything about where we were coming, except we wanted to be here, right? We love the United States. My parents worked very, very hard, and probably at that time, if I can go back in time, when they got me a computer and it cost like $2,400, $2,500, that was probably a crazy amount of, a crazy amount of money for them at the time. But they felt like that maybe would spark something, right, would create an opportunity for me to find something where I would eventually add up. And I kind of feel that's really responsible. I get goosebumps like thinking about that, you know what I mean? But like maybe that was the spark. And I kind of do the same thing with my kids. I try to give them, you know what I mean, exposure to a lot of different things, hope they find something. So I think that was very inspirational for me. You know, I owe probably a lot to them where I am today, because that kind of probably was the spark. In recent times, you know, I'm very inspired by the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, who's going to be in DC tonight speaking in front of, you know, in front of Congress. But, you know, I mean, that's strong leadership, you know what I mean? Not bailing on your team, right? Showing strength, not being afraid, just, you know, being empathetic, being real, not running away. That's such an inspirational story, where he probably had chances to bail, could have left. He was wealthy before being a president. You know what I mean? So I'm really, really inspired by his courage, the people themselves. But really, that's sort of when I think about leadership, I really think about that initial video when Russia first bombed Ukraine, where he stood there with his team and he's like, "We're here. We're not going anywhere, and we'll be here till the end." To me, that's like, wow. That was a wow moment for me.
Absolutely, man. I agree with you that was, and he was an actor, right, or a comedian before he was.
He's a comedian. He was like small town guy, very smart, great comedian, very witty, very funny. Had a television show about like a teacher becoming potentially a president,
which is funny, right?
Which is funny. And then that show, he gives some speeches about like that makes you think about like what could be. You know what I mean? Like, what if just a regular person became a leader of a country and took all that other stuff kind of out of it? You know what I mean? It was like very, very powerful show. Recommend. It's on Netflix, I think. So I strongly recommend people check it out. I think there's subtitles and stuff in there, but what a great leader.
And then he did it, which is amazing.
And he did it, yeah.
But no, back to the parents thing, and then we'll call it a day here. But the parents, the immigration thing, as immigrants, my parents are immigrants as well, and like you said, they made sacrifices. They moved across the world, right? And you think about it, when I think about it, I like you said, you get goosebumps. I get goosebumps thinking about it, because when our parents made those moves, my parents came in the 60s and 70s as well, and at that time, that was pretty much you're cutting off ties with your family back there, right? Because there's no Skype, there's no WhatsApp, there's no iMessage. There's none of that stuff. Like there's no way to talk. You have to use a calling card or like pay, ridiculous amounts of money to call back home.
You're sending letters. You're sending letters.
Yeah, sending letters. Right. They get there like, weeks later, maybe.
Right.
And it's unbelievable. And it's terrifying, right? You're in a whole new world. You don't know anybody. You barely know the language, if at all.
No language, no money, no language, nothing. You're like, I'll take whatever job, whatever I can get. I got to pay rent.
Yep, exactly. And I got to create a life now for my kids. And then they did,
Yeah.
So I agree with you, man. That's awesome. Well, listen, Arthur, thank you so much, man. We appreciate you taking time today. I know you're a busy guy, and you got an awesome company to run. So thank you so much for the work you're doing and the partnership you have with me and with other folks who value you as a partner. And thanks for taking time today, everybody. Please reach out to Arthur and Klik Solutions if you have any infrastructure or cybersecurity needs. They're phenomenal, absolutely great. The information will be in the description below, and I will see you guys later. Arthur, thanks again, man.
Drew, thanks for having me. Thanks, everyone.
Absolutely. See you guys.